It is one thing to hear what others say of the church, of your church, of our church. But it would be quite something else if the Lord would step in and go, here's what I think of you guys, you know? And I'm not sure we would want to hear that, but he has an opinion, trust me, about the church as a whole and the church as an individual fellowship, and specifically here for the Ephesian church, which makes these letters so valuable. What would Jesus write to you and to all of us if we were to be addressed? And I must tell you, I think about that often. You know, if we're making decisions about what we're going to do or not do and considering where we might involve ourselves, the question always becomes, what would the Lord think of this? You know, is this something that would please him? Is this something that he would want? But the Lord begins by saying to them in his commendation section, I know your works. You know, some people actually think they can hide their behavior from God. No such luck. You can hide it from your row. You can hide it from your family. You can probably hide it from yourself. But you can't hide it from Jesus. He is intimately aware of everything you do and the reasons behind what you do, as we shall see. That's God's purveyance. That's his area of expertise. He knows the heart. Now, you know, there are going to be works that you have done as a Christian that when you stand one day before the Lord, you are not going to be rewarded for. You're going to think you're getting a reward, but you're not. You're going to come with the wheelbarrow, I'm waiting for rewards for all the good stuff, and go home like this. Oh man, I don't know what happened right here. You know? You read there in Matthew chapter 6, verse 2, if you do a charitable deed, don't sound the trumpet before the hypocrites, or as the hypocrites, I should say, too, in the synagogues. They can get glory from men. You already have your rewards when you pray. Don't be like the hypocrites standing on the corner, praying in the streets and on the corner so every man can see them. They have their reward. And there's going to be plenty of times when we're going to do spiritual things with the wrong motivation that the Lord is going to just not mark down. You know, we want to pass it off as pretty spiritual and godly, and woo, look at what I've done. But the Lord's just going to kind of go, yeah, I'm not marking that one down. Because he looks right past the work to the heart. And when it doesn't please him, you don't get a check mark, you know. We read in 1 Corinthians chapter 3 about the bema seat, where all of our works will be thrown into the fire. And it says to see what sort they are. And if we survive the fire, then we have a reward. But if they burn up in the fire, there will be no reward. But you yourself will be saved. It has everything to do with reward for faithful service. So there's going to be some surprises. You know, there's that Hebrews verse that says, there is no creature hidden from his sight. You know, we all stand naked and open in the eyes and before the eyes of whom to whom we must give an account. Well, the Lord says to the Ephesians, I know your works. I know what you're doing. And this fellowship had lots of work. They were constantly in outreach and messages and meetings. I'm sure that their bulletin was filled with announcements. This was a busy fellowship. I know your labor. Now, the word labor is used in verse 2, and again in verse 3, it's the same word. It means to work to the point of exhaustion. It doesn't mean to put in half a day. It means to just wear yourself out. The Ephesian church was known to the Lord not for just showing up for service, but for really giving themselves over to being busy with diligence and sacrifice and tremendous amounts of involvement, where people got worn out, if you will, from being laborious in the things of God. The Ephesians were not easily turned away. They were willing to sacrifice time, and they were much involved. It was a busy and active and committed fellowship. If you wanted something to do, if you were in the Ephesian church, you'd find something to do. What are we doing tonight? Oh, we got 4 things going on tonight. You know, all right. Pick one. God knew how hard they had labored in their works. He mentions in verse 2 that he knew their patience. The word for steadfastness, this one. It means that they continued to serve the Lord even when the day-to-day pressures of life made that difficult. When the world opposed them, and you can just imagine the kind of opposition you might get in Ephesus after knowing a little bit about them. But these guys were not easily turned from their purposes. They were an enduring, focused church. Great fellowship. You know, they would attend even when it rained. They would make church even when the time change came. They would show up even if there was homework to be done. They would continue on, even if it was the book of Leviticus. I'm going. I don't know what I'm going to get out of it, but I'm going to be there. God wrote it. It must have a purpose. I want to learn. They were steadfast in all that they did. Imagine that and compare that with Western church today.